Well, it has been a pretty busy week for the Toronto Police. Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkiw talking about budget concerns, a rash of violence in the city, including one aimed at police and trying to keep the peace amid global strife. Yesterday, the chief also announced he is cancer-free after quite a journey. So he joins us in studio now to talk more about this. And we want to talk about this video that you shared online. I felt like this was a very different side of you that we saw, Chief, and talking about 5 years cancer-free, ringing that bell. You were incredibly vulnerable. Why is it you decided to go public with this, your journey with this?
Well, listen, it has been an incredible journey, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it because, we are so blessed in our city to have such incredible care. And I really, really wanted to acknowledge the amazing people that are truly angels that provide world-class care at Princess Margaret Hospital, and as well as the foundation. What I came to learn through my journey is the incredible efforts at research that go on in that hospital to create better outcomes for patients, to make the journey better for those who are touched by the difficulties that cancer brings for so many people. And, all of that work happens through philanthropy and fundraising and volunteerism. And I want to recognize the work they do and those who give of their time, who give where they can, whether it's financially or otherwise. I think it's important to create awareness and celebrate their work and their efforts and share the things that go on there, which are absolutely incredible.
It's remarkable, and hopefully we can share that video again, because I want to talk about that moment, and I want you to tell me what it was like for that moment. So you're ringing the bell, 5 years cancer-free. That's what you heard from your doctor this week. What was that like?
So, I'll try not to be emotional talking about it, because it is emotional, and it's every year, every few months when you go for a checkup, and then you get to this yearly stage and you wait for that day every year for the checkup, and you want that clock to tick down. But when when you're watching the clock, it goes slow. And that certainly was part of it. To get to 5 years felt like a long 5 years in that context. And every time you go to the hospital for those checkups, there's always a little bit of trepidation that you have to prepare yourself for mentally and emotionally. And to hit that 5-year mark was, really felt like I'd crested a massive thing in my life and got over a hurdle. And it was just it was emotional. There's no question about it. Incredibly grateful. And I tried to process how I felt as the day came close. And I was overwhelmed with gratitude for all the great care and support I had. Family, friends, my workplace, people at work, the hospital, and of course, all the wonderful people that work there.
You were processing that milestone moment during an incredibly difficult week. I mean, I know earlier this week I was at a press conference, we were talking about safety concerns, and then that, I'm sure, terrifying phone call, hearing one of your officers struck by gunfire. Tell us about that moment for you, and again, speaking to how difficult this week has already been.
Well, listen, it's I really have the privilege of serving with the most incredible team that support me in my role as the Chief of Police and support our organization. And I work with incredible people across the service. And, I was on my way actually to Chief Pegg's retirement when one of my staff advised me of the shooting. And of course, that changed where I was going quickly. And, when I arrived at Sunnybrook Hospital, there's an amazing sense of police family where our officers come together at these moments, and you recognize that when one of us hurts, we all hurt. And when these things happen, we come together to support one another. And it really showed me yet again the incredible people we have in their commitment to service, commitment to supporting the 3.1 million people who call Toronto home, and supporting each other on what are sometimes very, very challenging days.
I know when you provided the update at the hospital that your officer was going to be okay, there was almost a collective sigh of relief across the city because so many people were thinking of him. How is he doing today? Well,
listen, again, I'm very relieved to report he's out of hospital, and an incredible police officer. When he left the hospital, he went by his station to greet those who had supported him so closely, and I can tell you he's resting at home.
He
doing
went to
well.
the police station to see his colleagues
He did.
the day after
He
being
did.
shot on the job.
He did, and I think this is yet another example of just the incredible people we have that I'm very, very privileged to lead and work with each and every day. We have incredible police officers who, rise to the challenge every single day, and we know it's been challenging times this year.
Yeah.
And every time we ask of them to serve, they rise to that challenge. And yet again, we see an example of the kind of officers we have. They're beautiful people.
Yeah, really, really great news to hear that he is now home. I do want to ask about the new development in this case, though. So a 21-year-old man accused of being the one behind firing the weapon at your officer. We learned yesterday this man was out on bail, facing charges for previous charges in York region. Ford Francis, I believe there are reports of weapons. So this man is out on bail, and then he's accused of shooting at a police officer in Midtown. What's your reaction as chief to hear of that?
Well, listen, it's unfortunate that we hear stories like this from time to time, but I really don't want to comment specifically about this case. It is an SAU matter, and it is before the courts, and I'll leave the specifics of that case. But I think this speaks to the broader issue that we hear of time and again, which is a bail system that we are seeing repeat violent offenders that are out on the streets and cause harm. Who are out on bail. And I think we need to continue our efforts to find a legislative framework that meets the expectations of Canadians. Mm-hmm. And I think Canadians speak time and again. They speak about concerns that they feel around the justice system and elements of the bail system, mm-hmm. And how things unfold. And I think we have to have a real conversation that reflects what Canadians are telling us and what Canadians are speaking about every single time we hear of incidences where a repeat violent offender is yet again apprehended for a violent offense.
Mm-hmm. So many people talking about, I mean, even the Premier talking about this yesterday and also talking about how grateful he was that the officer is okay. I also want to talk, because there is so much to talk about this morning, going into this weekend. You talked earlier this week about the plan to increase the police presence in Toronto. We have additional command posts set up, basically so people know the police are out on the streets ahead of October the 7th, the one-year anniversary. Anything to suggest there is concern or a threat for our city?
Well, listen, I think we can't answer that question without thinking about the year that has been here. Mm-hmm. In our city and really cities across the Western world. We are a city that has experienced a very high rise in hate crimes, and specifically anti-Semitic hate. I have been to communities across this city, and people are speaking about their concerns for their safety, their well-being, given the rising tensions, the impact of geopolitical events, and then things that are unfolding here, whether it's at demonstrations or otherwise. So, I think we have to acknowledge that we've seen a change in our city. And we've got to be, as a police service, responsive to that change and meet our community's expectations and protect our communities in a way that resonates and is proportionate to what's going on in our communities today. Mm-hmm. And in the context of, coming up on October 7th, we have a number of demonstrations, we know. We are going to have a significant amount of police resources deployed. We have already elevated our posture across the city. We've, as you said, deployed command posts and into our communities, and you'll see great amounts of police officers in certain areas of the city. And I ask people not to be alarmed. I ask them to be assured that our officers are there to protect our communities, and we will scale up and down our presence from time to time based on what's happening, and we'll be responsive to the situation on the ground every single day. And again, we will take all the steps necessary, and we'll be there as long as necessary to make sure people feel safe.
Mm-hmm. And you even mentioned your police service also works very closely with different levels of government for something like this, right? So I'd imagine you're in touch with the OPP or the RCMP to ensure there is safety in the community. That's
an absolutely amazing point I want to make, and I appreciate that. We are very much tied in with all levels of policing. In fact, yesterday I spent the day with the Assistant Commissioner for the RCMP for the province of Ontario, Matt Peggs, and we spent the day with community. And today I'll be joining OPP Assistant Commissioner as well as the RCMP, again going back out into the community, engaging with people so we can make sure we reassure everyone that we are all interconnected, we are prepared, and we are able to share information and operationally respond in a way that is seamless and will protect our city.
Chief, thank you so much for coming in to speak with us this morning. We covered a lot of ground here. And of course, Congratulations on the 5 years cancer-free, and we really appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing your story with us and our viewers this morning.
Thank you so
We'll be
very
in touch
much.
in the coming days, of course.